What do you get when you take good writing, good acting, good set design, and a strong message that applies to our world, and then place that project in a galaxy far, far away? I usually try and moderate these kinds of takes, but this deserves the highest praise possible. You guys ready? Andor is probably the best Star Wars project I have ever seen, heard, or listened to. Better than the prequels, better than the sequels, every other show, game, and book in between. It is genuinely crazy how well this show has worked, just across the board. The acting, the direction, not just from Tony Gilroy, but from the directors for the episodes themselves, the writing, the set design. It was a perfect storm, a journey that, despite the massive pressure that came with the insane budget, finished on perhaps the highest possible note and established itself from the moment the show premiered in 2022 as one of, if not the, greatest Star Wars projects of all time. When Andor first got announced in about 2018, I actually took pride in being someone that always saw a very interesting level of potential with a show in focus like this. The underbelly of the rebellion has been alluded to, the gritty reality of it had been explored before in projects like Rogue One, and we've gotten morally dubious characters that fight for the rebellion, but Andor was uniquely positioned to explore Star Wars' early rebellion on a level never quite seen before. But nothing ever would have prepared me for the level of quality and love that went into this show. It might be one of the first times I've walked out of every single episode thinking it was better than the previous episode. You go from simply enjoying it to being in awe of it. We're used to the big space battles and the badass lightsaber duels, armies, and super weapons dominating the screen as we look at the shiny flashes and the funny quips and memorable lines that come from our heroes and villains. We get a lot of flash in Andor as well, and we get a lot of action, but it's a different kind of action, a different kind of flash. In Andor, we don't get Luke facing down the First Order. We get Luthen Rael and Clea Markey managing an antique shop as a front for an organized spy ring that does high-level espionage missions right under the blind eye of the Galactic Empire. Andor also did an absurdly fantastic job making the worlds we visit, Ferrix, Coruscant, Yavin, Gorman, feel like living, breathing communities. You can almost taste and smell every world Cassian visits. It's not all just green screen. And the showrunners don't manage this by giving us an extensive series of exposition. Passing conversations that aren't even directly about Gorman or Ferrix give us an idea. Hearing background characters discuss their mundane days, seeing the variety of stories that hide Cassian's, does more to fill out Andor's worlds than any wall of text. Coruscant's apartment levels feel different from ISB's headquarters, which feels different from Ferrix, Gorman, or Yavin 4. And to showcase that without needing to hold the audience's hand to do so is an underrated and valuable talent. From Bix to Mon Mothma to Saw Gerrera, Clea to Cassian to Luthen, the central characters of the rebellion in this story are among the most well-written and nuanced in the entirety of Star Wars. In the entirety of fiction, it's beautiful, and a benefit from not having seen any of them later in the timeline adds to the suspense. We know Cassian, Mothma, and K2SO make it at least to Rogue One, but how about this character? Or this one? How will they get out of this? Will they get out of this? What kind of loss makes Cassian so jaded by the time we get to the beginning of Rogue One? The villains of our story aren't just villains. Cyril Karn, the space Javert whose entire life's purpose is to support this flawed idea of order and justice that the Empire is supposed to provide, is a man in his 30s with an overbearing mother and a job that he takes entirely too seriously. Dedra Meero is ambition personified, a talented, callous, and generally unfeeling Imperial Security Bureau supervisor who is obsessed with advancing through the male-dominated and unforgiving jungle that is the Galactic Empire's bureaucratic system. Like Blevin tells Dedra, "You fall here, you fall alone." These aren't just cackling villains, no disrespect to Palpatine, of course. These are people with day jobs and feelings and anxieties and insecurities. There are moments where we feel bad for them. That's what makes these villains real, and that's what makes them so utterly terrifying. I am continually amazed at the success of this show. I didn't expect it to work like it did. No disrespect to any of the other shows, movies, games we've gotten set in Star Wars, but Andor stands out for being on a level that I quite frankly did not think possible in this franchise. I didn't know Star Wars could ever make me excited for a meeting between five mid-level officers in the ISB that are subtly trying to shift blame away from their own shortcomings, or a bored and jaded manager displaying an uncaring attitude about his work that is almost endearing. I knew it would be worth giving a chance, and I knew that Diego Luna and the supporting cast would do their best, but I didn't know their best would result in us clamoring for Emmy and Golden Globe recognition for a Star Wars project's acting and writing. If you had told me in 2018 that this show would be this good, that people who otherwise don't give Star Wars the time of day would eagerly await for the next episode or season, I'm not sure I would have believed you. And I'm one of the most optimistic Star Wars fans around. This journey, which follows the character Cassian Andor from his misadventure on Morlana 1 all the way until he steps into the cockpit of a U-Wing and flies off into the opening minutes of Rogue One, is also a telling of the rebellion, what it takes, who it involves, what it means to get swept up into a first quiet movement against injustice that explodes into a massive outcry against fascism and finally a promise for a better future. The show came out at a critical time, as we see our own governments and leaders continue to threaten our rights as human beings. Star Wars' Andor reminds us what makes the people special, and through the lens of a galaxy far, far away, and thanks to top-notch acting and writing, Andor teaches us about the work that goes into surviving oppression, the risk that's involved, and the personal sacrifice it all requires. It's a beautiful message to relay, and one that we should all endeavor to pass down to future generations. Thank you, Andor, for changing the game. We will probably never see a show quite like yours ever again. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll probably do a more in-depth look at the show in the future, but I wanted to get a general overview uploaded so that you all got my general takes on the series as a whole. If you did enjoy the video, please hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so that you're among the first to see any new content going forward. This is Mesa Windu. As always, enjoy the rest of your day, love each other in these crazy times we live in, and always remember, the Force will be with you. Always. Stone and Sky.